So you've chosen for me to read The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. And I just gotta say, Jude Carden fans, are you okay? Definitely enemies to lovers, but so far, maybe it's just like I am not a bully romance person, and this is definitely, I think, coming off more bully romance than I think enemies to lovers is what I'm getting. There's a lot that's gone down. I'm 25% into The Cruel Prince, and my goodness, it's a lot. It's kind of intense, and I think that's kind of where my not so great feelings about Jude Carden come in, because I mean, they're definitely a big part of wanting to read the series. I've seen like a lot of hype around them, but they're one of those ships like I'm not certain about. I'm still not certain about them. I'm willing to give them a chance and overlook some things. How much am I willing to overlook? Maybe this is where all the Dark Lena stands like. I'm not a Dark Lena stan, so maybe that's it. I don't know. So far, essentially, the plot of this, now that I've gotten into it, I guess I can explain the plot to you. We follow this girl named Jude, and she is a human girl living in like the Fae world. She was essentially kind of taken when she was younger, and now because like her sister's a fairy but she's not, and so she was born of human parents, and so she's like a human taken there, and yeah, she was kidnapped by her parents, and her parents were murdered, so they're dead, and so she's kind of like lived in the Fae world a lot. So while she's kind of like living with this trauma, she also at the same time likes the Fae world and wants to stay there. She likes the magic, despite the fact that I feel like she's kind of miserable, but she likes it here. She wants to become like a knight of the fairy court, but so I guess so she can stay, I think you have to like either like marry in, or you have to become like a knight or get a job or something like that. The fairies are kind of mean for the most part. There's some that kind of seem to be somewhat nicer, but can we trust their motives? I don't know. That's kind of the main plot. So essentially she's kind of like been recruited to become like a spy for one of the princes, not Carden. And yeah, we kind of have some like, there's like some bullying stuff going on, so there's kind of some mean fairies. And I don't know, there was kind of like a moment that Carden seemed to be nice, but then I wasn't sure if he was being nice, and I was like, what's going on here? But there was one character who kind of seemed to sort of be, I think his name is Locke, he kind of seems to not quite like the bullying and is kind of being nice, I guess. I don't want there to be a love triangle. I hope there's not a love triangle. The fairy stuff, I guess it's interesting. Kind of like, I'm interested in it, but it's so kind of just like dark and evil. Like, I don't know if I care for it that much. Like, it's not like a magical fun world, which I think in fantasy, I mean, yeah, sometimes like evil worlds can be interesting, but like, I don't know, I'm more of like a magical fun kind of girl. Fairies are all kind of rubbing me the wrong way. Jude and Carden, let's talk about them a little bit. As much as I do love a good enemies to lovers romance, so far this is just not what I want out of it. It's giving me more bully romance vibes, and I feel like with bully romances it kind of can rub me the wrong way a lot more of the time. It's just mean. It's not like with enemies to lovers, they both kind of hate each other, and they both, or like even just like kind of rivals sort of thing, and they both like kind of can push each other's buttons, but they don't, even with enemies, it's not like they cross the line of going too far. I don't know, I find with that at least, like there's kind of like some line that doesn't get crossed. Whereas I feel like with bully romances, that's when the line gets crossed, and little much for me. So I feel like if Jude Carden is going to be a ship I'm going to enjoy, there's going to have to be a lot of development. I would rather them not get together in this book. I think they have a long way to go. Like, they definitely are at each other's throats. They kind of have like a bit of, I don't know, there's not really like fun banter between them. Like, there's none of that. So I'm willing to give them a shot. I haven't gone down full solidified like they are awful yet, but like we might be getting there. I don't know. They're just not my cup of tea. Not my thing so far. So who knows? My mind could change. It's interesting. I like the sisters. I don't know. There's a lot not necessarily like I don't like about this book, but it's just like I'm more on the side of, I like Vivi, who's kind of the fairy sister, but she was old enough to kind of remember her parents and remember the human world, and she wants to go back. And I find her story, I feel like, a bit more interesting than I do, I don't know, Jude's, if that makes sense. I'm just more intrigued by her plotline. Even just like hearing like the other characters' perspectives in this book, I think could have been interesting, and maybe like a missed opportunity, but maybe it's just Jude's story. I find myself caring about other plot lines in this book more than Jude's. Jude's okay. I don't have like strong opinions on her, but like a lot of these fairy characters, I don't remember most of their names, they are pissing me off, which again, I think that's also the point. I don't think we're supposed to like Carden as a character at this point in time in the story, so I'm interested in seeing what happens, and if he does become likable, I would like to like him. I'm not someone who likes to hate on popular things or whatever, like that's not what I like doing, but I definitely question people's tastes when, you know, like books like this come around. It's giving me Darklina vibes. So that is not a compliment. But it's like kind of like the opposite of that, because Darkling was kind of like nicer in the beginning and then kind of went vicious. So I don't know. I just think Carden needs to change in order for me to like him. So I'm intrigued to learn more. I don't know what we can trust at this point in time because I'm questioning a lot of things. But I'm intrigued to continue on with the story, give it a chance, see where things go, and I'll update you, I think, maybe at the halfway point or something. We'll see. But I feel like I need to update you again. I will do that before, but otherwise, see you at halfway, I guess. So I'm about 50% into The Cruel Prince, and I don't know how to feel about this book. Like, I am all for morally gray characters. I just don't think I'm for it when it's all of the characters. Aside from maybe, like, Vivi, I feel like Vivi is kind of like our voice of reason. She seems to be the reader's perspective in a way. I don't know, but I like her. She's kind of the only character I really seem to care about at this point in time. I'm more interested in her as a character than I am literally anyone else, so like reading from Jude's perspective isn't all that fun to me. I don't even know if like that's really an opinion. That's not something I've never heard anyone talk about Vivi. We kind of have like a little bit of a romance going on between Locke and Jude, and not vibing with it. He's okay, but like given that I know Jude Carden's gonna become a thing for one, and two, he's just kind of boring. Yeah, I just don't really care for it. They're very insta-lovey, and I'm just like, I don't know if I necessarily think I'm supposed to care about it, but I just don't. Like, I kind of feels like we're putting the romance in here, so there's kind of like a romance in this book so that teens will want to read it, but like honestly could have done without it, especially given I'm sure Holly Black's plans was throughout the book was to do this slow burn development of Jude and Carden, which I do not see them getting together in this book, which I don't want to see them get together in this book because I think definitely slow burn development of them is going to be better, given there's been some moments that we've kind of seen, I don't know, not maybe sympathy, I don't know how to describe, but they still kind of hate each other. Carden's still terrible. Motivations aren't necessarily wrong. I don't know if she's necessarily bad. I don't think she's a bad person, and you feel bad for her a lot of the time, but I don't know, I think I sympathize the most with Vivi as a character, and then I can understand some of the other perspectives, like I can get her perspective too. I will say some trigger warnings going into this book if you have not read it and you are thinking of picking it up. I definitely would say trigger warnings for like suicide and like abuse and stuff, just kind of be aware of that going into it if that is something that you don't want to read about or like that's something that can be triggering to you. Wouldn't recommend picking this up. Locke and Jude are boring. I just don't think we needed it. I think we could have done without it, honestly, it's very easy for me to pick apart like a romance in a book more than anything else, given that's what I typically gravitate towards as a genre, so I feel like I'm the most, I don't know, well versed in that. But I don't know, I feel like this book could have done without the romance, especially given the direction it's going to take. I just don't think the romance in this book between Locke and Jude is completely necessary at this point in time, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a point to it that, in the grand scheme of things, that maybe I'm just not seeing. I could definitely see, I don't know, Locke maybe betraying her or something, like this being too good to be true. Nothing, I mean, he seems the nicest so far, but like, I don't know, can we trust him? But I mean, like, then again, like, the fairies can't lie, but at the same time, like, can we trust them? I don't know. I think just because they can't lie doesn't mean we can't trust them, so maybe he's telling the truth, I don't know. Kind of just like, okay, it's not groundbreaking by any means, it's not, I mean, not that I expected this to be groundbreaking by any means, but it's not my favorite, it's not my kind of fantasy maybe. I am all for fairies. I did enjoy like Wicked Lovely, I think it was called, which was a fairy book, though I didn't like the fairy aspect of it, but I did like that book. So I don't know, there's not a lot to care about for me. I guess I'm kind of caring about Jude. She's like becoming a spy and I guess her stuff like that, but I don't know how much she's really done with that, or maybe I'm just not paying enough attention. I also have like a headache currently, so maybe I'm just like kind of out of it, but it's just kind of like a solidly just like okay, mediocre book, and maybe the rest of the series is better. We're just gonna see how this book honestly ends, and then I'll go from there if I want to continue with the series or not, because there's not a lot for me to care about at the moment. Like, I guess there's been some moments with Carden that I'm like, okay, like, I can experience, I guess, be empathetic towards sort of things, and understand him a bit better, but he's still like a jerk and like a bully, and like I said, I'm not a bully romance kind of gal. It makes sense for him to act out the way he does, but I don't necessarily think that's like an excuse for his behavior. I'm gonna continue with this. I'll probably just update you when I finish this book, and we'll just go from there. So I've now finished The Cruel Prince by Holly Black, and I gave it a 3.5. So I will say that second half, my gosh, it changed my mind, I guess, completely on this book, because originally I was thinking like a 2.5 for this book, but the second half definitely picked up and it got more interesting. I can't say I care about the characters, because honestly, like I said, the only character I still care about is Vivi. I was right about some aspects, I think, that I was predicting, but I was also like caught off guard where this story went. Like, I was not expecting the turn it took, especially like even just like in the last like little chunk too, like the last kind of big moment in the book. Was not expecting it to go there, but I mean, I should have, based on the title of the next book, and I feel like the titles are saying a lot about this series. I'm assuming the third book's gonna come into the play with the titles of where the second book's gonna go. I am going to continue this series, which honestly didn't think I would. I can't say I like the characters, can't say the characters are good, can't say the characters are likable, but like the storyline is like intriguing enough to carry on. Jude and Cardan, let me say, this book did not need a kiss. There was no need for it. Yeah, the love confession was like, I don't know, not necessarily cute. Maybe cute, I don't know, angsty, interesting, but like, did we need a kiss? No. I just don't think it was necessary. I don't think we needed it. I think it was just kind of like, I don't know, I feel like all the time, like authors, which I get as a writer, but like authors want to include like a kiss or something in the first book, and honestly, could have done without it. At least like in Fallen Kingdoms, while I'm not like a fan of like Magnus and Cleo or whatever, they don't kiss for like a long time, and I think the slow burn in that book is kind of just like worth it, and they definitely have like an enemies to lovers sort of thing, though they constantly just hate each other. I don't know if I like them, but like even so, I would say that's like a better slow burn than like Jude and Cardan, and I think Jude and Cardan could have been like a really interesting slow burn, but the kiss kind of just felt like forced to me. I didn't like it. I don't think we needed it. I think would have done so much better if it was in the other book. Like, I just don't see it really from Jude's perspective why she decided to kiss him, aside from I guess her morally great personality and trying to toy with his feelings, but then she like enjoyed the kiss. I don't know. I just don't think it was necessary. I don't think we needed it. I didn't want it. Take it back. I would have been down for it in like in other books, but like if it happened in the second book, all for it. But like this book, it was too early in my opinion. Maybe I'm just a slow burn kind of girl, so I just don't need that instant satisfaction kind of thing. I don't need it. Jude and Cardan as a ship. Well, you know what? Cardan as a character's growing on me. I think I'd say that. Not that like he's a good person. Like I get what everyone else is kind of saying. Like he's awful, but like I'm kind of on his side. Like, I don't know, whatever Jude has coming for her, like she kind of deserves it. Because I kind of feel bad for him. Wait, what the heck? Why do I feel bad for this man? Enjoyment levels of the book. Was not expecting to enjoy as much as I did the last half. I think it's set up for an interesting sequel. I'm curious to see where the story's gonna go, and I will be picking up the sequel, surprisingly. That's a plot twist. I didn't think I would, but you know what? I feel like I enjoyed this book enough that I'm curious to see where the story's gonna go. It's not like the most grand fantasy series I've ever read. I don't think it's going to be. Maybe I'm just like a simplistic kind of girl. I like that like the real world kind of still exists, so we kind of have like that element to it. Overall, I gave this a 3.5. It was enjoyable the second half. Like I didn't want to put it down. I wanted to continue reading it. I wanted to see where the story was gonna go, and yeah, I'm intrigued to find out what's going to happen next. I was like, oh, okay, we're going here now. Okay, and that's, you know, when it wasn't like super predictable to me anymore, like all of a sudden I'm like, okay, now I want to know what happens next. So, unfortunately though, while I did end up enjoying the last half of the book, the first half, I don't know, it still doesn't make up for the first half not being super great, and I did in fact still enjoy Soundless as a whole better, so you have chosen the wrong video. So there'll be an end screen at the end here where you can go get back on track and, you know, continue playing along.